Good afternoon. Welcome to 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you are with us all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We are streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. Also live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube as well. Plenty to get to here on the show. We'll hear from Andy Demetra, voice of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, as Georgia Tech wins the ACC tournament and now going to the NCAA tournament for the first time in quite some time. They are a 9 seed in that always covetable 8-9 matchup, but they will play Loyola Chicago and Georgia Tech into the NCAA tournament after beating Florida State, BJ, on Saturday to win their first ACC title in quite some time and their first appearance in the tournament since 2010.
Yeah, the Yellow Jackets, one of the hottest teams in college basketball. Goes without saying when you think about their finish to the regular season and then getting it done in the ACC tournament. I'm a little surprised. I thought probably deserved to be better seeded than a 9. You mentioned they're opening with a Loyola Chicago team that was just in the Final Four, and I believe is a slight favorite if you look at some of the early lines. And then if you win that one because you're in that dreaded 8-9 slot. You match up with a 1 seed in the second round, and that would be Illinois here. So I think Georgia Tech probably should have been a little better seeded, but absolutely congratulations to Josh Pastner, the Yellow Jackets, on winning an ACC championship. I know post game you saw a lot of emotion, Ben, from guys like Jose Alvarado, Moses Wright. Georgia Tech has turned their season around and done so to a championship extent. When you go back to consecutive losses, I believe, to Georgia State and Mercer, I think, to open the year. And once they got into ACC play, really figured it out down the stretch. Exceptional, extraordinary, and they are ACC champs as we get ready for the NCAA tournament.
Was able to catch the end of that Florida State Georgia Tech game, and obviously, BJ, you talk about a guy and Coach Pastner was real similar to like Leonard Hamilton. They're gonna get judged on a different scale. When you look at the fact that it's all, let's face it. When you talk about the ACC, it's all about North Carolina, Duke, and those guys, and unforeseen circumstances. Regardless of how it happened, very, very good game. Georgia Tech proved why. Like a scrappy bunch. They won with turnovers. They won with, staying in the game, didn't shoot the ball, efficient, at all, but still was able to come out with the win. And then Coach Pastner, when he got hired, back in 2016, said, "Hey, I'm going to win." Which that's the new thing when it comes to preliminary press conferences. What are you going to do? We're going to win the ACC in 5 years. Okay, well, 5 years later, regardless of the circumstance, he made good on this promise, and it wasn't easy. Florida State is always going to be, a team that's going to play to the end. But I think very, very good showing by both squads. Coach Pastner comes out with the WBJ, as you mentioned. Jose and Moses and those guys. I think when you look at the Georgia Tech team, it's always going to be in an uphill climb. They got it done, and kudos to them, because Leonard Hamilton, that Florida State bunch, is always going to make life rough for anybody. But yeah, Georgia Tech, ACC tournament champs. Punch their ticket before the actual game, but to still be a 9 seed, I think that's kind of ridiculous. The ACC is, you come out of there at all, you should be at least a 3 or 4 seed just from that conference alone.
Well, again, a little different year in college basketball where you had so many just traditional powers struggling. Kansas struggled for a good portion of the year. Kentucky's not in the tournament. Duke's not in the tournament. But the ACC, I still think, BJ, was still largely the best basketball conference out there. Maybe you can argue the Big Ten if you want with Michigan and Illinois, but it may have been down perception-wise, but very competitive. You I don't say only, but largely played just ACC games with 4 or 5 non-conference games for some schools. So a little bit different schedule for a number of teams out there this year. But again, give Georgia Tech credit. They won. I think the ACC still got 7 teams in to the NCAA tournament. So still a pretty solid year for them as far as representation. And now we move on, to what we see on Thursday. You get the play-in games, or the first 4, on Thursday, and then you get things really going on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So a little bit different format here. Obviously, everybody's in Indianapolis, and you don't have the traditional Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. It kind of pushes all the way through the weekend. So a little bit of a different kind of schedule to it, a little bit different of a way it's going to be carried off here in 2021. But Nevertheless, March Madness is here. We didn't even get close to seeing this last year because it was all canceled. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And, I think atmosphere will be different. But again, anytime you tell sports teams it's one and done, you tend to get a little better effort all the way around from everybody when it's like season's over or we can move on. So I'm looking forward to what's happening coming up on, Friday, Saturday with the first round, and then Sunday and Monday with that round of 32, and see kind of what it feels like, how it plays out here.
I think it's going to be fun. For me, I think you look at it, and Gonzaga probably deserves to be the number one overall seed and probably the favorite. When you look at an undefeated regular season with a conference championship, of course, and then a pathway where outside of Virginia, potentially in the Sweet 16, you feel really good. And maybe you run into Iowa in the Elite Eight, but you feel really good about the potential pathway to a Final Four for Gonzaga. I do think the Big Ten, at the top, had an extraordinary year. When you think about the Michigans, you think about the Illinois, but also Iowa and Ohio State. You had four, top 8 seeds, if you will. But yeah, the ACC is still the ACC. No Duke, but it's not a one-team league. It never has been. You still have North Carolina in there. You still have Syracuse in there. I was surprised that Louisville didn't get in. Down in the Midwest region, I think it would have made more sense to flip Clemson and Georgia Tech and maybe give Georgia Tech as the conference champs that 7 seed and put Clemson there on that 9 line. But regardless, you have to play the seed you're dealt. You have to deal with kind of the way the tournament's thrown out there. But I would still keep an eye on Florida State as a 4 seed coming out of the East. Again, UNC is going to have a chance to shake things up with a potential second-round matchup with Baylor. If that goes chalk, you think about Virginia Tech, Ben. That's a team that your Gators are going to have to deal with right off the bat in round 1. That's a team that's been very, very good over the last couple of weeks. So the storylines are there. I know it feels weird to not have Duke, to not have Kentucky, but you still have some huge names, and I think it's going to be a fun tournament nonetheless.
I think what's BJ is what makes the tournament the tournament. I know I do agree when you look at whenever you win the ACC, that should go into some level of recognition. I mean, bigger than just punching your ticket to the tournament, but as far as seeding goes, and I'm a big fan of Dickie V. He's really, really big on Gonzaga this year. But that pressure of having that pressure of being a number 1 seed and being able to not, have those letdowns against teams that are obviously not better than you. BJ, you mentioned Michigan, who played really, really well, this year. And then you talk about the fact that Georgetown, the teams are playing well, peaking coming out of the tournament, but you still don't know. I mean, the thing is, I don't put – Kevin does, giving the Big Ten some love, and rightfully so. Coming out of the ACC is rough, man. And I know I get it. Oh, Duke's not in it. Get over it. I mean, Duke was not a good team this year, and I know people are saying, is it? Yes, it is. I mean, you had other teams that had really, really good records that weren't able to punch their ticket this year. And BJ, I know you're talking about my Florida Gators. Yeah, they'll get to see what Indy looks like, and that's it. Oh, this is nice. But get back on the plane, go back home, and ain't gonna be much to talk about. I don't even want to deal with them right now. But congratulations to everybody who made it in. I still think, BJ, because we did not have a tournament last year, that's going to make it so much more, incredible this year. Like I said, me and Kevin were sitting here last year when Florida State was about to tip off with Clemson for the ACC tournament. I mean, for the championship game, and they shut it down. So to have a tournament this year, everybody that made it, congratulations to them. But like I say, nobody's safe. Rankings don't matter in the tournament. I know people can go, they're number 1. That stuff don't matter. It is one game. Hey, man, we ranked number 1. So, everybody think, all 4 seeds gonna make it. Illinois is the number 1 seed. Illinois. We'll see how long that lasts. But I am looking forward to it. I just think, BJ, when you start talking about, these mid-major teams that make it in, they are the dangerous teams because they can run, they can rebound, they can shoot. You just ain't seen a lot of them. I'm looking forward to that. But shout out to Juwan Howard, and Patrick Ewing, man. When you all-time greats from the school that you coach now to be able to win it, that's very, very hard to do. And whoever didn't let Patrick Ewing into Madison Square Garden, hey, man, he's 7'2". He's the greatest Knick of all time. That should never, ever happen. That's nonsense.
And again, we've got, obviously a lot of fun getting started here with the brackets coming out. We've got our own bracket challenge for you. We'll have the link up on our social media. We'll tell you more at espncoastal.com. You can go there to click the link and get in on our bracket presented by Low Country Honda Dealers and have a lot of fun with it. And again, we'll get into some of the strategy involved there as well. Maybe some of the strategy for 2021, though, BJ, goes out the window when you're talking about filling out a bracket, just because, again, this is a environment. I don't want to give it away. We'll give some of our looks a little bit later, but it's an environment that nobody has ever kind of experienced in regards to major tournament play in college basketball, where it's just, hey, we're going to be at 6 or 7 gyms all in the same state. Probably not going to let anybody there, but about 20% of the people. It could be a pretty antiseptic, no pun intended, environment for college basketball here. Do we get those momentum swings with underdogs? Because, again, part of the underdog is you feed off the momentum of that crowd who wants to see a big seed go down. Well, if you're just playing basketball in a gym, essentially, do you always go with the more talented team in that standpoint? It's going to be interesting.
And I know you've long said, hey, don't get too cute. Don't have too much fun with the upsets, because normally at the end of the day, it's the better teams that advance. And I think there's some smart logic there. But how do you account for kind of the lack of a home court advantage, both regionally and just with the fans, like you said, rooting for the underdog? It's tough. And I don't know that you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams that jump off the page and just scream national title contender like maybe you've had in the past. I do think Gonzaga probably deserves to be considered the favorite, but even they've kind of had that wall they've hit in the NCAA tournament where they haven't quite been able to get to that championship level. So are they able to do that this year? I don't have maybe as much confidence, at least historic and kind of name recognition wise, with some of the high seeds that maybe I've had in the past. But then again, how do you know which mid-major to trust? How do you know which upset to go with? Because if you pick an upset and you run that thing to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 and it doesn't happen in the opening round, your bracket is done. So such is the challenge of March Madness.
And we've got plenty to get to here on 3 and Out. As I mentioned, we will chat with Andy Demetra, voice of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, coming up in hour number 2. We'll get his thoughts on this Josh Pastner team and how it's going to be different with this tournament here in 2021. A lot of other news out there as well. We'll talk football as a legend retires from the National Football League. We'll get to that and other NFL news next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you are with us on this Monday. Brackets are out. We want you to play along with us in our ESPN Coastal Challenge presented by Low Country Honda Dealers. You can go to ESPN.com and jump in with us at the ESPN Coastal Challenge, and play along with us. First prize is going to get a 55-inch flat screen TV. Second prize for the brackets out there, going to get a Budweiser grill. Again, you want to be first or second in this thing, and you can compete against myself, VJ, Ben, and if it goes like a normal tournament, nothing normal in 2021, well, the three of us will all be eliminated by the fourth day of the tournament, and by the time we get the Sweet 16, we'll have a clear idea of who's going to get it done. So join us, play the brackets as well, ESPN.com. ESPN Coastal Challenge. Look for our bracket there. You can hop in, presented by Low Country Honda Dealers. So we'll also put a link up on our social media so we can get right to that as well. But plenty of news in the NFL today as a legend retires. Drew Brees has officially done it. He is done. Super Bowl champ, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, 13-time Pro Bowler, 7 times he led the NFL in passing yards, and 5 times he went over 5,000 yards. Only NFL player in history to do that, is the all-time leader in pass yards and completions. Falcons are 10-19 against Drew Brees when he was with the Saints, and the Falcons fans all say, "You want to retire? Good. See ya. Get on down the road, Drew Brees. We'll take our chances with Taysom Hill." Although doing that this year didn't work out too well for the Falcons either.
Yeah, I think what happens is when I think about Drew Brees, I think about being able to take quarterback into another level. You talk about these these high-powered offenses, BJ, to where they want to get up and down the field, score a lot of points, kind of brought a college atmosphere to the NFL. When you look at, they used to go up and down. When Drew Brees was at his best, it was really, really hard to stop. I mean, I think Marcus Colston is the greatest saint of all time. That's because of Drew Brees. I got a chance to meet Marcus Colston. He's calling me sir. I'm like, Marcus, stop it. You're like a year younger than me. Don't do that. No. How you doing, sir? But anyway, I just think too, Drew Brees did what Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson, not 6'3", not 6'4", barely 6 feet tall. Let's face it. When he came out of Purdue, second round pick, nobody thought he would end up doing this. And you go back 15 years ago when the sweepstakes between him and Miami, those Miami trainers failed him in the physical. They thinking about that now because what could have been, and I think Nick Saban was the head coach of Miami at the time, but Drew Brees is a pro's pro. I mean, meant more to the city of New Orleans than people from the state of Louisiana. When you talk about, and then BJ, him and his wife doing so much for so many, when you talk about philanthropy, humanitarian work. But what I remember the most about Drew Brees, I mean, licks his finger like a person that counts money. Every time you see him, he licking his finger, getting ready for the next play. But he was a great football player. I mean, when you talk about just him being able to outdo other quarterbacks, won a Super Bowl, never won a regular season MVP, never was a first-team All-Pro, but he also played with Brady. He also played with, Aaron Rodgers and, Peyton Manning and those guys. But to be able to, carve out a legacy for himself the way he did, to know that he's in the, he's high up in the record books than Dan Marino, Dan Brett Favre. So, he's going to be, the Falcons ain't going to miss him. I like how they said, hey, man, congratulations on retirement. You will not be missed. But that just shows the impact, not just what he did to the NFC South, but what he did for the quarterback position. So, Drew Brees, man, one of the best to ever do it.
And I do think what you said about kind of creating opportunities for smaller quarterbacks very much matters, because for the longest time, you had to be 6'4", you had to be 6'5", and now when there are guys who are 6 foot 5'11", 5'10", you at least hear kind of the counter argument. Oh, well, there are guys like Drew Brees who have done it. So he's even creating, or I guess widening the avenues for guys who are coming now a generation after him, after his career started. So you always have an influence and an impact as a player in terms of making your team better, making your program better, your franchise, I should say, but also players that are similar to you, stylistically similar. You give them chances. You give them maybe a reason to get a chance that might not have existed. So I bet 10, 15, 20 years from now, Ben, when there's a 5'10", 5'11" quarterback, somebody's going to say, yeah, but look at Drew Brees. And maybe a guy like Baker Mayfield or as you said, Russell Wilson clearly can add to that legacy. But Brees, one of the best to ever do it, has the numbers to validate it, has the ring. I think it's worth noting also that won a championship with a franchise that doesn't have a history of doing that every year. You know, the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's a franchise
only championship in franchise history.
Right. The Green Bay Packers, those are franchises that are normally kind of in the conversation. The New Orleans Saints are not, or were not, I should say. Drew Brees kind of changed the status quo along with some other guys, and now that's a winning organization. I guess the $64,000 question is, what's next? You've had Drew Brees for forever, it seems like. I know Jameis was there last year, Taysom Hill with the big contract on paper, but how do the Saints move forward without Drew Brees?
They're gonna have to really dive into the free agency and see what type of quarterbacks. I don't know how much. Teddy Bridgewater was a guy that was able to get his big time contract when he was behind Drew Brees, moved on to Carolina. I think they kind of fell out of love with him. Can he come back? Do they give Jameis Winston a shot? I mean, the fact that they're restructuring money for Taysom Hill scares me, because Taysom Hill starting for your franchise means, he's going to have, he'll definitely have 4 touchdowns in the season because he plays the Falcons twice. I mean, they're the only team that can't keep him out the end zone throwing the football, which is ridiculous. But, I mean, BJ, you got some guys out there. I mean, everybody, Trubisky and those guys are still going to be in the market. I mean, when you look at, I do mention Teddy Bridgewater. I think Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't know what's going to go on out there with him with San Francisco. And you're going to look to the draft. You're going to have some guys. I mean, Jamie Newman is the guy that comes to mind. I mean, we'll see what happens with Kyle Trask. You're going to have other guys that's not going to go first round, but definitely can go into a system that Sean Payton can look. And I keep on coming back to Taysom Hill. I like Taysom Hill. This is not a slight. Taysom Hill can start in the NFL. A lot of quarterbacks can start in the NFL. He is a gadget-type quarterback who can run the football, and unless he plays the Falcons, not allowed to throw touchdown passes. But I just think that this Saints team is going to look different. A lot of Alvin Kamara, a lot of that defense. But to not have Drew Brees behind center, that's definitely going to set their franchise back, no matter who they have under center.
Yep, and again, no love lost from the Falcons and Saints fans. Again, I don't think anybody's going to be sad from a Falcons standpoint to see Drew Brees go. Again, 19-10 against the Falcons. 19-10. He got over more often than not on the Atlanta Falcons in his time. It's, again, a lot of free agency news out there. The Patriots signing a lot of guys around there. I know I saw Adam Schefter saying that the Patriots have spent more this year in guaranteed money on free agents than they've spent the last decade in free agency trying to get guys. So maybe we're seeing a little change in attitudes for some teams out there. I think that's going to be interesting to see how some of these things move with a lower cap and cap space here.
They re-signed Cam. Listen, Cam, they went out there and gave Cam a 1 year, I think up to $14 million deal. Then they go and sign that boy Jonnu Smith, easy money, 81 if you don't know, from the Tennessee Titans. The boy got 4 years, 50 million, 30-something million. Let me hold something, Jonnu. I'm happy for him. And I think now Bill Belichick, BJ, is getting back to his ego. I don't want people to think I can't coach. Okay, the guy I had for 20 years, he went on greener pastures, better weather, no state tax, and a super duper. What I got Cam Newton, 5 touchdown passes, 10 touchdowns rushing, and the brakes beat off. So I need to get back to our winning ways. I think Jonnu Smith is going to help. They're going to have to add more pass catches to that offense. But yeah, I think McDaniels and those guys, they're trying to get back to controlling that AFC East, because they look like a regular team last year with Miami and Buffalo running away with the division.
I was going to say, Kevin, I don't know kind of how to quantify what position is going to be hit hardest by the cap reduction. You don't think it's going to affect quarterbacks. It may not affect edge rushers. It may not affect offensive linemen. But when you get down to some of the secondary playmakers, maybe a running back, maybe a non-pass rushing linebacker, that may be where the money evens itself out this year. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what teams do here when they get into the heart of free agency in 2021. Of course, a lot of folks still look ahead to the draft as well. We'll come back. Speaking of brackets, we have put together a tough one with the running backs. We are now ready to move forward into the Elite Eight. We've got it up on Twitter for you to vote on our running back bracket. We're about to have the Elite Eight done when we work through it here today on the show. So we'll get to the first half of the bracket in just a minute. We'll work on the right side of the bracket a little bit later in the show. But as I said to you guys earlier, it's starting to get serious now into some extreme potential hair splitting on how to move some of these guys forward in the bracket. We'll get to that when we come back. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you're with us here on this Monday. NCAA tournament gets started a little bit later this week. And again, that means we're right back into brackets. We've got one for you to play along with us. Go to ESPN.com, look us up the ESPN Coastal Challenge. We're presented by Low Country Honda Dealers. And you can fill out your bracket right there and play along with us. We'll have a link up for you on social media, etc. But if you want to go ahead and jump in and fill out your bracket, you can go there, look us up, ESPN Coastal Challenge, and fill out your bracket. Obviously, you have until the games are played. The first games are played in the first round there on, I believe, Friday morning to get it filled out, and you can play along with us. First prize is going to get a 55-inch flat screen. Second prize is going to win a Budweiser grill. So a couple of great prizes there for playing along. And if you can have the best bracket or two, you can win some great prizes from us as well. So a lot to get to there. Speaking of brackets, we've been working through our top collegiate running backs of all time bracket. And fellas, we are down to the final 16, if you will. We'll do the left-hand side of our bracket first, move over to the right-hand side a little bit later in the show. But as we were saying, it's getting pretty tough. I'll run down the matchups quickly. What we're looking at, you got Herschel Walker, Saquon Barkley, Reggie Bush against Walter Payton, Archie Griffin against Jim Brown, and Eddie George against Adrian Peterson, the Georgia Southern edition. That's just one side of the bracket that we got to work on right now. This thing's getting serious.
I mean, somebody going to get very, very disappointed. I mean, once again, like, I got to put this disclaimer out, okay? We can't make a bad choice here. I know people are like, you out of your mind. No. Some of these guys reshape how we looked at the running back position. Some of these guys had to do it, at a time to where, they might have had, circumstances beyond their control. Other guys, all I'm saying is I'm gonna make my decision, BJ. I'm going to stick with it. I'm not going to let you say something eloquent to make me go, oh, I wasn't really looking at it like, no, bump that. I'm going to go with who I'm going to go with, and that's going to be it. Because, like I said, people, there are running backs who didn't even make this list that were good enough to make the list. We ain't no dupes. Ain't no dupes in this division. We don't got no favorites. We gonna pick who we gonna pick, and we gonna move on. And like Kevin said, that's only one side of what we got to pick today. It's gonna be even crazy on the other side. I mean,
I think we should make Kevin go first. So so we either just affirm his take, or we go, Kevin, what a horrible opinion. So Kevin, you should have to give your answer first for each pick.
Well, first off, whatever I say is only a fraction of what determines whether it moves forward or not. Again, I have a vote. You two each have a vote. Christian has a vote, and we have the fan voting, which is taking place online as well. So that is just a minute portion of the vote. So let's start right there at the top of the left-hand bracket to move forward to the Elite Eight. You got Herschel Walker against Saquon Barkley. I mean, to me, I like Saquon, but to me, this is a no-brainer based on what he did in college, championships, etc. Right now, he's leading the fair. He won the fan vote 78% to 22%. I gotta vote for Herschel.
Yeah, look, man. With all due respect to Saquon Barkley, you're talking about a guy that had 3 1,600-yard seasons. Herschel went for over 1,680, over 1,881, and over 1,782. Still one of the all-time greats. You got to go Herschel.
Love Saquon. I mean, love what he meant to the running back position. Definitely took it to another level coming out of Penn State. But for me, BJ, it's Herschel Walker. The gold standard of running the football. And like I said, it elevated his game each year when everybody was stacking the box. It's Herschel.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty straightforward. I don't, in this matchup, think there's much debate going the other direction on that one. Now we get to some interesting stuff here. You got one to play D1, one obviously played at FCS level. You got Walter Payton versus Reggie Bush in the matchups. Where do you go on this, or am I the one that's going to go first? I'm going to go first. Wow, I mean, this was tough. I went back and forth because again, you had Walter Payton, great FCS player. Reggie Bush won championships. USC won the Heisman. One guy has the FCS equivalent of the Heisman named after him. As well. I mean, this was tough. I feel like I was being disrespectful to either one of these guys if I didn't vote for him, but I went Walter Payton. Ultimately, I just went chalk. That's so bad, but I just went chalk with our bracket and picked Walter Payton. Sweetness. Fan voting went Walter Payton as well, 65-35.
Yeah, I'm like you in that whatever pick you go, you feel like you've done something wrong here because both guys are great. I mean, I feel that way about a number of these. And you look at the versatility of a guy like Reggie Bush. How do you account for that? How do you account for what he did as a running back, what he did as a return specialist, what he did as a receiver, the championships? Very, very close. But I think when you talk about greatest, this is not the best. This is the greatest running back bracket. And I'm going to be true to that. If we were picking best, I might go Reggie Bush. But we're picking greatest, so you're talking about legacy and impact, and you have the 1AA Heisman, if you will, named after you. What you did in an HBCU. I'm gonna go Walter Payton. I think it's Walter Payton, the overall impact and reach and legacy.
I love Reggie Bush. I mean, when you talk about the way he played the game, BJ and Kevin, you talk about redefining the way we look at the running back position. We over here on the East Coast, and I saw his games while he played them. That's how good they were. You need to watch this guy. But I look at the touchdowns alone. Walter Payton had 65 rushing touchdowns. 65. And you know everybody trying to shut it down. And I forgot all about BJ having not just the Heisman and FCS name that you got an award named after you in the NFL. But even without those things, I still say it's Walter Payton, BJ, and Kevin, because like I said, Don't some of the best players ever come through the NFL played at the FCS level. These guys were the truth. Walter Payton was the gold standard. Love you, Reggie. You weren't better than Walter.
Yeah, I think we go there. The next one, you have Archie Griffin against Jim Brown. I mean, this is also just a legendary situation. I am going against the fan voting here. Fan voting has it 65-35 in favor of Jim Brown. And Jim Brown, I think, tremendous. Archie Griffin, 5,000 yards rushing there at Ohio State. And if you look up the list, right, if you go under list of how many people have won the Heisman multiple times, there's one guy. That list is very short. He is in an exclusive club of one. I went with Archie Griffin.
And I think that's a major, major point there. When you talk about greatness, when you talk about the full kind of influence and scope and scale of your career, maybe the most famous award in individual sports, right? I mean, the NFL MVP is a big deal. It doesn't ring true like the Heisman Trophy. You did it twice, and it's only you. And I look at Archie Griffin for his career. Over 5,500 yards, over 6 yards per carry, which is elite. I mean, you're getting into one of the top 2 or 3 kind of most efficient runs in modern college football history with numbers like that. So you don't feel good about it. You feel like you're being disrespectful. But, yeah, I think I got to go Archie Griffin.
Jim Brown going to always have my respect. I mean, when you can't talk about the game of football without talking about him. But BJ, Kevin, look. It's hard to even be a Heisman candidate. I mean, let alone win it. This dude won it twice. And think about it. That's like, I mean, okay, he's going to, I mean, you know how many people won the Heisman and they're going to win it again? Nope, they usually have a fall off, drop off. I love Jim Brown, and I know him. I get flack on Twitter no matter what I say. I mean, it could be Jim Brown versus my nephew. And if I say, oh, Jim Brown, who cares? So, yeah, it's Archie Griffin. It ain't even, it's close. But like I said, BJ, when you're comparing this to that, I think one is culturally better. Like what he did for the culture of football. I mean, what you do in college? I won the Heisman twice. Oh, okay. Yeah, and to me, I'm gonna say this right now. That I don't think that will ever be done again. Winning the Heisman twice, I don't see that ever be done again. So it's Archie.
All right, and our final pick here on the left-hand side of the bracket, you got Eddie George and Adrian Peterson, the Georgia Southern edition of Adrian Peterson. Online, AP won it 89% to 11 in the voting. I think Eddie George is a great running back. If you just want to look at careers, consecutive 100-yard rushing games, playoffs, I think that's one thing that you look at with, and again, when you have to compare numbers, AP played 13, 14, 15 games some seasons, just depending on how deep of a playoff run that they were in before we saw 15 games kind of become the norm for the national champion now in college football. Eddie George, a tremendous running back, but I lean AP in this one just because of what he meant to the team, how truly great he was, the dynamics of he's got the runs, he's got the highlight tapes, but again, it was when you needed a big run, he was there, and he did it over and over and over and over and over again during his time at Georgia Southern. I lean him, and I will follow the fan vote there for Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, it's AP, and if Eddie George was matched up against just about anybody else, he'd have a great shot. I mean, what he did in '95, he had 1,927 yards rushing, so almost 2,000 yards rushing. That's at 5.9 yards per carry with 24 touchdowns. And then people forget about this. In an era where running backs weren't featured pass catchers, he had 47 catches that season. 47 catches. I mean, he was extraordinary. But come on, man. I mean, AP's on the very short list for greatest college football player ever. You think about the consecutive 100-yard games. You think about doing it in the postseason. You think about the most yards by a running back in college football history. Eddie George, man, tough draw for you. Incredible career, but you got to go Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, BJ, that 95 season for Eddie George is impressive. But once again, I would compare Eddie George's 95 season to Adrian Peterson's postseason. They look really, really similar. Isn't that crazy? Like, what'd you do? Oh, I had almost 2,000 yards in the postseason. What? Love you, Eddie. Got a chance to meet you when I was with the Titans, before you went on to the Dallas Cowboys, one of the Titans greats. But listen, and they say it ain't matter how many fights you had, it's who you fought. Well, you fought the wrong one this time, Eddie, and you lost. It is going to AP. Wow.
That's the left-hand side of the bracket. So we got one more vote to get. We'll get it totally tallied up, but I feel pretty confident with the way we're leaning. Herschel moves on. Walter Payton moves on. Archie Griffin and Adrian Peterson, the Georgia Southern edition, set to move on. We'll get to the right-hand half of the bracket when we come back a little bit later in the show. The final hour, we'll get to that right-hand side with the Bo Jackson bracket and the Barry Sanders bracket there as well. So plenty to get to here. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We are streaming live at ESPNCoastal.com. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben here with you. Glad you're with us on this Monday. I know, daylight savings time. This is my favorite time of year because we get more sunlight, which means I can get outside and do more things once I'm actually, allowed outside the studio for a little bit. But, sometimes you just got to relax. And some people say, man, I need a nap after daylight savings or daylight saving time happens there as well. But have you ever been like our good friend, the walrus? Apparently this is a story that has actually happened. A walrus, which if you have a full size like walrus, they get very big. Apparently size of like a cow, was found on an island in Southern Ireland, right? Well, walruses aren't normally there. It's very rare to find them in Ireland. And according to a marine biologist, he believes this walrus fell asleep on a floating chunk of ice or a little iceberg and, floated several thousands of miles across the water and wound up on another continent. That is sleeping good, my friends, if you're able to do that.
So just to confirm the kind of the scientific interpretation of what happened, the walrus was asleep for, I'd imagine, a couple of weeks. I mean, how long does it take to float thousands of miles? I mean, what is the estimation of the sleep time that occurred here for the walrus?
I don't know. How fast is that? I don't know how fast the cube of ice was floating. I mean, I wasn't prepared to do a physics problem here on the show, but I mean, it's I feel like I'm back in 8th grade. If a walrus sits on an iceberg and it travels 50 miles an hour west, and Ireland is how long was the walrus asleep? I don't know.
Okay, but that's what I mean.
Walrus is kind of chill after a while. I mean, maybe he ate a seal and he's stuffed. It's like Thanksgiving dinner. It's like,
but that's what I'm getting at, Kevin, is normally I'm not an expert on sea travel either or kind of nautical speed, but you said thousands of miles. I may be wrong. I don't think the iceberg was going 70 miles an hour.
Maybe it was hundreds of miles. I don't know the distance.
I don't know how fast.
Hundreds of miles. I was told thousands of miles in the rundown. Cody's saying I knew that was wrong. It's hundreds of miles. Hey, I'm sorry. Listen, no, BJ. I can't drive hundreds of miles, 6, 7, 800 in 2 hours. So he was asleep for a while. I mean, I've never gone to sleep on Thursday night and woke up in Birmingham. That doesn't happen. Right?
I mean,
I ate dinner, and next thing I knew, I was in Dallas.
Okay, Ben, this now seems a little more plausible because it has been reduced to hundreds of miles.
Wait. My goodness, are they just adding? I mean, that's just like watching a movie that says based on a true story. That don't mean everything in it ain't true. We don't know how far he went a long way, but he only went as far as he did because when he woke up, he was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I mean,
I know what. I'm not gonna just jump in the water when ain't nothing around me but water.
Yeah. Let me just simplify this for BJ. The equivalent was, they found this walrus. They walked up to him. They said, "Hey, walrus, where you from?" He said, "I left my wallet at home." How about that?
There it is.
I get it.
Does that work? I had my ID in my other tusk. How about that? We can get that solved this way and get it sorted out. I just thought it was kind of cool, man. Apparently the thing passed out and woke up in another country. That usually doesn't happen for various forms of travel.
All right, what are the perfect conditions for you guys to take a good long nap?
Well, we will get to that coming up in take 3, so don't spoil it for everybody. So, I mean, we'll make people wait, tease it a little bit. You want to ask any of the other questions on take 3 real quick?
I was setting the stage because look, that's something people are passionate about. You want to argue about sports teams, sports takes. All right, but naps are serious and apparently very serious when you can do it while traveling hundreds, even not thousands, hundreds of miles.
Yes. Several hundred miles on a floating piece of ice, and then you just wake up and it's like, wait a minute. I'm not where I thought I was at the end of the day. We'll come back. We've got more to come next hour. Take 3 right around the corner. Also, Andy Demetra, voice of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. He's going to join us as the Yellow Jackets in the tournament for the first time in about a decade, 2010 since the last time They've made it to the NCAA tournament. We'll get his thoughts on that, and certainly going to be one of the more unusual NCAA tournaments at that. Speaking of, we can participate in our bracket challenge presented by Low Country Honda Dealers. Go to ESPN.com, look up the ESPN Coastal Challenge. You can jump in our bracket. First prize going to win a 55-inch flat screen. Second prize, a Budweiser grill. So a couple of great prizes just for finishing first or second in our bracket challenge. We'll take three when we come back. Andy Demetra next hour as well. This is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, streaming live ESPNCoastal.com on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're coming right back. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you're back with us here on this Monday. A lot to get to this hour. We'll hear from Andy Demetra, voice of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Georgia Tech in the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2010. So he will join us coming up in about 30 minutes here on the program, and we'll get his thoughts on what the 2020-2021 Georgia Tech team look like and what they're walking into there in Indianapolis. Kind of a different feel for this year's tournament. So he'll join us coming up in just a little bit. But first, it's 4 o'clock. Let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. All right, fellas, take one. Which top pick has been the most impressive thus far? LaMelo, Wiseman, or Edwards? Anthony Edwards.
I think it's LaMelo Ball. And all three of those guys have something unique to their game and are capable of taking over. But LaMelo impacts the game multiple different ways. His stats reflect that, averaging close to a triple-double, a guy that can be a go-to scorer, a guy that can be an elite distributor, and a guy that can rebound the basketball. You think about positionless play in today's style of basketball, and Ball is the type of player who fits that bill in that, yeah, he may be a point guard, but he has the size of a wing player and can essentially, by traditional definitions, play the 1, 2, or the 3 pretty seamlessly, pretty easily. I think his proficiency has been impressive. I think he's elevated the play of his teammates. I think he's made his team notably better, and that's what stands out. So I was a big fan of LaMelo entering the draft. I thought some of the criticisms of him were a little unfair, and boy, he's really looked the part. He's been very impressive so far.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do think that a guy like Wiseman's going to benefit when once Klay Thompson comes back, BJ, because it takes more of the attention off of him because they're going to be thinking about those wing guys. And I mean, you think about Anthony Edwards. If you're looking for highlight dunks, this dude is. I mean, he can jump out the gym, and I think he's doing all he can. But Minnesota needs a lot of help. Then you move over to LaMelo. LaMelo can affect the game without scoring. Most players now come into the league thinking I have to score to affect. Again, that's not true. As BJ said, when you're 6'8", he's long, so he can get out there and defend. He's going to be going up against 6'3", 6'4" guards, but then he can rebound. Then he really looks to pass the ball. Still going to have to work on his shooting, which every rookie going to have to work on their shooting. But I think right now the Hornets are 4th or 5th in the East. He's got those boys playing some ball. They're definitely going to make the playoffs this year. And BJ, dare I say, he's already, that vocal leader. He's already that guy that, you want to go out there and see. He's earning the respect of veterans around the league, guys like Draymond, those guys talking about his game. So, and I know Samuel LaVar is watching. He's on Pigskin Radio right now saying, I told y'all that LaMelo. But that aside, LaMelo is an incredible player. If he's this good as a rookie before the game slow down for him, oh, man, he's going to be scary moving forward.
Yeah, I think you guys are right. They're certainly moving along to take 2. In lieu of Drew Brees' retirement, he retired from the National Football League. He's 19-10 in his time with the New Orleans Saints against the Falcons. Who is the ultimate Falcons killer?
I mean, the obvious choice is Tom Brady. Now, he's probably had success against everybody around the whole league, but not everybody had a 28-3 lead over Tom Brady in the biggest game of the year. So that one is something that's tough to shake. I mean, you think about Brady leading the Patriots back from a historic deficit in the Super Bowl. I don't quite know how you get over that one. So Brady's number one because of that. But I think Aaron Rodgers has also just torched the Falcons. We saw him do it this past year, went for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he deserves to be in the conversation. But given what happened in the Super Bowl a couple of years back, it unfortunately is now, and probably always has been, at least since that point, Tom Brady.
So, I mean, when I saw this question, only one name jumped out at me. This person has 94.5 career sacks. 21 of them have come against Matt Ryan. 21. 36 quarterback hits, forced fumble recovery. That would be another Saint. That would be Cameron Jordan. Y'all do not be what the offensive line be like, is Cameron Jordan gonna play? Yeah. I ain't seen him on the injury report. Cameron Jordan loves the Falcons. It doesn't matter what tackle you give him. Jake Matthews and those guys, they got a deal. BJ, I got 94.5 sacks. Now, I think I could be wrong, but I think that Aaron Donald has the most sacks against Russell Wilson But I'm just saying, Matty Ice, 21 sacks. So I don't know what their record. I don't know what his record was, but that's a guy that's living in the backfield. That's a guy that's saying, "Listen, I can't wait to play the Falcons year in and year out." But yeah, for me, it's Cameron Jordan. I mean, doesn't get enough credit for how incredible of a player he is. But 21 sacks against Matty Ice, 30, and he hit him 36 times. Yeah, give me Cameron Jordan, another a guy who's gonna be there for years to come, who doesn't be talked about enough about being an elite defender, definitely at the defensive end position.
Pretty much, if you wear the Saints uniform, you've probably done the Falcons dirty at least once or twice. I was saying,
I had 2 touchdowns against them. Passing.
Well, I mean, again, Aaron Rodgers had success again. And again, I hate to bring this up because it's a sore subject for one Christian Gokel, but I mean, we are kind of in the golden era of Falcons football, and outside of like a brief blip there with Dan Reeves, and then another blip there with Michael Vick as quarterback. I mean, it's been pretty discouraging to be a Falcons fan. So a lot of people have kind of been ultimate Falcons killers over the years. Just saying. Or somebody that just straight owns like every time. I think Cam Jordan was a pretty good one.
I mean, like I said, I was just telling Kevin, I was looking for like Chipper Jones versus the Mets kind of killer, right? Like where you name your child after their stadium because you played so well at their stadium, right? That's what I was looking for. Has there been a Falcons killer like that? I think it's Tom Brady.
You took Drew Brees off the board. I mean, otherwise he would be the answer.
I do think it's Tom Brady. Yeah, 7-0 in the regular season.
Taysom Hill coming in at the third, probably.
Taysom Hill quickly becoming a Falcons killer.
But
great.
Again, so long, Drew Brees. We enjoyed it, but be happy to see somebody.
Who enjoyed what?
Football fans enjoyed watching Drew Brees.
You keep that "we" out of this, Kevin. You enjoyed it, maybe.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Falcons fans aren't football fans.
Sorry, I enjoyed the man's talents.
Yeah,
while
that's
he was
fine.
playing.
That's not we. That's you.
Ooh.
The minutia.
Remember when we were talking about grammar, Kevin? Matters.
Moving along, then.
Yeah, move along like Drew Brees.
I will. Just like Drew Brees. Take 3. In an amazing coincidence, we talked about the walrus falling asleep on an iceberg and winding up in another country. It happens to be National Napping Day out there. What, BJ spoiled it last segment, are the ideal conditions for a nap?
No, I was just so excited because this is such a great talking point. And I actually got a call during the break where the caller said, "Hey, glad y'all are talking basketball, but I'm much more intrigued by the walrus story." So, I mean, everybody is stimulated by this. Look, I think that first it needs to be raining. If you're talking about ideal conditions, if it's raining, and I'm not saying it has to be significant, like concerning weather. It could even be just a light breeze, kind of an afternoon, storm that breezes through and leaves a little bit of rain. But as long as there's some, pitter patter on the roof or outside, that helps. And I think you have to be kind of warm and cold at the same time. Now, here's what I mean by that. Is you want to have
He's right.
You want to have a bunch of layers, a bunch of blankets on your bed. So you have, 2, 3, 4 comforters you can get curled up, but you also want to have the box fan going on the floor. So you have the box, and Ben, I know you got a box fan in your bedroom. So you got the box fan on the floor. It's blowing that air. Oh, you got a fan right there on you. So that air, even if it's not like, ice cold in your house, even if it's just air hitting your skin, that's still cold. That still gives you a little bit of a chill. So you get that, and you mix that with the blanket, and you kind of cover yourself up. You're cool and warm. You got the noise from the fan, and you got the noise from the rain. I mean, if that's not a 4-hour nap, I don't know what is. Those are the perfect conditions.
No. The perfect conditions for a nap. And I'm speaking to the people who got children now. Okay. Children, someone's going to be watching them, someone you trust. Okay, so they're going to be fine. Boom. Then you're going to say, all right, Christian can appreciate this. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do a nice little workout. But I'm going to do it in the heat. It's hot. I'm talking about it is hot. Like, fire egg on the sidewalk hot. It's hot. So, all right, I got just enough energy to do one thing, and that's eat. Eat something dead and deep fried. I'm talking about carb loaded. I want it good. Give me some chicken. And after I get out of the shower when I eat, I am going to go into a I am out. I mean, coma out, like done, like waking up. Kevin, you know when you wake up and you slept a long time, you like, and like I want one of those. I want one. I done missed the whole day. Like, you know, kids.
I don't. I have young children, Ben. I have not.
That's what I'm saying, Kevin. This is the Kevin. I'm talking to Kevin. Kevin, okay. Kevin's parents have said, Kevin.
They will not allow me to do that.
Yes. Kevin, I'm gonna take the boys today. All right, bam. Kevin saying, all right, the ride lawnmower is broke. So I got to do the push. I got to push it. Not because I want to do it, because the missus said, if I come to this house and this grass ain't cut, all right, I'm gonna cut it. Kevin just happened to have some leftover fried chicken in the refrigerator. So Kevin goes and cuts the grass, get a little workout in, you know, get the sweat going, go in there, take a shower. That's draining you too.
Key note to that though, Ben, you need a TV on like golf or NASCAR.
No. You just need a TV on. I mean, the TV can be talking. The TV can say, "Did you go to bed last night and wake up in the morning? Boy, you need some more sleep. Just lay down." Because Kevin, I don't know when the last time you've just been able to just sleep. Just like the best schedule in the world is nothing to do. I have nothing. I know Kevin.
That doesn't happen very often. I will say that.
But BJ. I mean, I know BJ, you know, he think he's good at cutting grass, but he's not. He's okay. I'm just saying, for me, go out there in the heat, go walk, just get sticky hot, come back, take a shower, get you some carb-loaded food, not salad, because that's nonsense. I'm talking about give me some fried chicken, fried pork chops, fried Oreos. Let's get right.
No, I mean, I'll say I don't get to do this often, but when I do. This is usually like in the summertime because my room is facing east. So late afternoon, I can't do it at night because, you know, you're about to go to sleep. But about 4:30
at night is called going to bed.
Yeah, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, my room's kind of back in the shade because the sun is, you know, on the other side. So I tend to agree. Like you go out, you've been working in the yard, you're hot and sweaty. You take the shower. You get the ceiling fan going. It's cold in the house. Boxers pass out top of the. You don't even have to cover up. Just out.
Hold on.
You don't need any coverage because I'm still like steaming from being outside. So it's like just.
I mean,
that's a hell of
I'm sorry I just made everybody sick that's listening to the radio here on a Monday, but I mean, you know, it is what it is. Like,
hold on, Chris. I got to ask Christian this real quick. Christian, when you went to Georgia State. At what point did you realize everybody don't have a box fan? Because that used to shock me. I was like, "What you mean you ain't got no box fan?" I'm like, "Where you from?"
I don't have a box fan. I have the oscillating fan.
What is that? Is that from Sharper Image?
Like it's like the what 14 fan that like rotates back and forth.
It oscillates.
Yeah, it just rotates back and forth. But no, underrated nap. Post mimosas at brunch nap. You get some champagne in you at like 11 o'clock in the morning. You are out. That's an amazing nap. Breakfast, some mimosas, out.
I will say to follow up on BJ's take though. I know in terms of napping, back when I was a kid, we used to go stay at my granddad's house. You get that summer rain. He had no AC in the house, so when the summer rain came through.
Kevin's really old, y'all.
Yes.
Like pre AC old.
The wind would blow through the house. No, so the wind would blow through the house with the rain, and he had a tin roof, so you'd get the tin roof with rain. It's like it was like kryptonite. You're like out. It's like there's nothing you can do.
There it is. My grandma used to share that tin roof. Start going out my screen though. You're gonna have my electricity bill sky high. But when that rain get to hitting, I'm telling you, man. I mean, you know, my grandma didn't have no AC either. So shout out to the house that had the tin roofs and no ACs. Love you, grandma.
Kevin, best sport to nap to is what?
The best sport to nap to?
Baseball.
Golf.
Yeah.
Golf.
No,
because literally you can start watching and wake up and all you just see is the last guy on the last hole and you're good.
I mean, NASCAR close second.
Yeah, you get the constant noise going usually. I would say that's pretty good. That's take 3. We'll come back. It's 3 and out. Andy Demetra joins us in about 20 minutes all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you are with us. Andy Demetra, voice of Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, will join us as they are the ACC champions, won the ACC tournament into the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2010. So he will join us coming up in just a little bit. But first, we must do some mental gymnastics, courtesy of Christian Gokel here on the show. So lay it on us. We've not been, and I know people enjoy this when we really sound stupid. So we have no forewarning of what the questions are, what the topics are going to be. He just said, "Hey, we're going to do a quiz."
Yeah, we're doing
And
a
I
quiz.
said,
And,
"Oh,
yeah.
okay."
So, in case you guys didn't know, the Grammys were last night.
Oh boy.
And I'm sure, Ben, all you guys watched the Grammys last night, right?
No.
Ben, who's your favorite performer from the Grammys last night?
I heard through the grapevine that Megan Thee Stallion came through and was like, oh. So yeah, I didn't get to see it, but I heard about it.
So we're gonna just go through hit a little Grammys quiz here. We'll leave plenty of time for Andy Demetra, but what we're gonna do is just buzz in, say your name if you think you know the answer, and we'll just go a point basis. Cody, you'll keep track of the points, or do you want to compete? Keep track of points. Cody's going to keep track of points. Cody's just going to respectfully bow out of this bout. So I think we can start with an easy one here, guys. I mean, Album of the Year is the biggest it's the biggest award pretty much at the Grammys every year, and it was called Folklore. Who was the artist?
Are we supposed to like say our name when we don't know the answer?
Say your name.
Album of the year.
Yeah, Album of the Year was called Folklore. I need the artist, and quick Googling stuff.
Can we get the genre of the music?
It was a good mixture of I'd say it kind of had a folk, country, alternative mix to it.
Oh, okay.
Not quite as much pop as this star had done in the past.
Kevin, Taylor Swift.
Nailed it, Kevin.
I don't know. I was
man.
just like, who would be
I knew you watched the Grammys last
cool
night.
enough to, I guess, like get all that? I don't know.
I knew you watched that last night.
Did she perform?
I watched the Grammys last night.
Okay.
No, T Swift did not perform. All right. Best new artist of the year was.
Oh my goodness.
Who's considered like this is where it always gets weird. Like who's considered a new artist?
Little baby?
It was. Is that your guess, Ben?
Little baby?
That is incorrect. BJ, do you want to hop in here?
I thought the Grammys was about movies.
No, that's the Academy Awards there, BJ.
I will. I mean, do I lose points for guessing
No.
wrong? Then I don't know. Was Chris Stapleton considered a new artist? I don't know.
Is
Sometimes,
Chris Stapleton considered a new artist?
yeah.
I told you she did. I told you she did.
Go ahead.
No, is Chris Stapleton considered a new artist?
I don't know. Sometimes they
Is
have
Tom
really
Brady considered a rookie?
no. Listen. Sometimes they have weird dates for like when you submit as a new artist. Like you've had people win them, like they've been out for like a year and a half,
Cody,
like
how many
new
Grammys
artists.
has Chris Stapleton won already?
Whatever.
Is that the one that sang
Like
Tennessee
in the
Whiskey?
70s because he didn't write it?
Yes.
No, it was Megan the Stallion, guys. Come
Oh,
on.
of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
everybody knows that. All right. Best pop solo performance was Watermelon Sugar by
Bruno Mars.
incorrect.
I have no idea.
This is amazing.
Sounds like
guy, no, I'm pretty sure it's the guy who used to be the singer from One Direction.
And his name is? He's related to somebody we work with.
Sounds like something Maroon 5 would put out there.
He's related to somebody.
Isn't his name like Niles?
No.
No,
It rhymes with that, though.
Giles.
No.
I can't believe
Harry
it.
Styles.
Harry Styles. Yeah.
Whoa. Chris, they consider Megan Thee Stallion a
Only
new
because you kept giving hints. Well, I wouldn't know Harry Styles if he walked in the room right now.
I wouldn't know Scott Styles if you want to.
Best R&B performance went to Black Parade by
R&B performance, Black Parade. Oh my goodness. No.
Oh,
Exactly.
Jasmine Sullivan.
that's incorrect.
I have no idea. I can't even hazard a guess. I have no idea.
It better not be Janelle Monáe, or I'm gonna lose it. Oh,
BJ, do you want to have
oh,
a guess?
I know who it is, Christian. I
Black
know who it is, Christian.
It's not My Chemical Romance. That's Welcome to the Black Parade.
It's her.
That's incorrect. I mean, according to some people, it is her.
Yeah, but
He's
Megan
like,
Thee
like,
Stallion is not a new artist.
BJ, do you want to guess?
I mean,
Best
Beyonce.
R&B performance, Black Parade.
Beyonce.
Beyonce is correct. BJ on the board here. Way to go, BJ. All right, best R&B album, Kevin. I've heard you listen to this one a lot. Bigger Love by.
have you actually heard me?
Yes, you love this album.
Wait. Best what?
R&B album. It's called Bigger Love.
Beyonce. She just,
Incorrect.
okay. Took a guess. If she gets one for
Her?
John Legend.
John BJ, where the hell is this coming from?
John Legend.
Cody, is his screen moving like he's typing on it? Yeah, tell him to hold his
Have to
hands
have
up.
a hand check
Yeah,
or
tell him to
something.
hold his hands up the entire time. Cody or Kevin, I think you should get this one.
Probably
What did Vince Gill win a Grammy for last night?
I have no idea. I know he plays for the Eagles. I mean, so
Vince Gill?
yeah, he plays for the Eagles. Yes, that's all. I mean,
You didn't know that was John Legend, man.
he took over when
Beyonce. Who ran the world?
I died. He took his spot.
Oh, Cody and I legit thought you were talking about like the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, he
Like,
plays
he
for
plays
the
for the
band,
Eagles.
the Eagles. So outside of that, I don't know what he would
Oh,
win.
you know, I mean, I thought you were talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, so I sure don't know.
Yeah, we were like, damn, was he
I
like
mean,
a
he
back-
probably won like
No,
a
Hotel
lifetime,
California, the
like a
Eagles.
lifetime achievement award.
Lifetime achievement.
Incorrect.
Okay.
best solo country performance?
Oh man,
Of music, Kevin, it's the Grammys. All right, final one.
Well, if it's the best, I shouldn't have to ask. him
BJ,
what.
you're tied up right now, right? It's 2-2. All right. Best rap song of the year went to this song by Beyonce and Megan Thee Stallion.
body yaddy yaddy yaddy.
That is incorrect.
Oh my! I can't.
Man,
What?
you're failing me here.
Hey man, listen.
I don't know.
Any
Go.
guesses?
No,
Beyonce, Megan Thee Stallion.
no.
Ben, do you have another guess?
Hold on.
Quit Googling stuff.
This is great.
It's
radio,
literally the
by
best
way.
song. It's literally the best song of the year. Like by far.
I'm just
This
drawing a
is
blank.
a contest.
I'm just drawing a blank right now.
Savage.
Oh, of course.
Oh, I'm sorry. Whoa! You ain't never heard Savage, Kevin?
I probably
Kevin-
have. I just didn't know.
Kevin
I'm
was
sorry.
actually in his wife's car listening to Savage.
Was I? I don't know.
I bet your sons know Savage.
They might. I don't know.
I saw Kevin twerking outside the back of the office
There you
as I
go.
pulled in today.
You can play whatever you want, and as long as like you could say, "Hey, this is it," I'd be like, "Okay, go ahead." Next question.
Ending as a tie. We're ending as a tie. This is just a
That's
trophy.
it.
I'm disappointed in all of y'all.
Why? Because we didn't watch the Grammys. Like,
No, just say what it is. Say what it is.
say what is?
You guys are all old and you don't
Oh, whoa,
Nobody watches
absorb anything new.
I
I
know
watched the damn
nobody
Grammys
watches
last
the
night,
award
Cody.
shows. It's fine.
Kevin, again, you're going with the we thing again. Just because you don't do something or you think something,
It's a pretty good indicator, though.
Leave the
I mean,
we out.
little baby ain't winning that.
Like
I mean,
you might appreciate what Drew Brees did. I don't. So leave the we out of it. You may not.
No. Y'all are glossing over the fact that the best part of this whole segment is that Kevin thought Chris Stapleton was the new artist of the year.
That's just where this whole thing went.
And
on.
Meg Thee Stallion is not a new artist.
See, he's
Well,
proving my point.
You take your argument up with the old.
That's what I'm
the
saying.
Grammys
You
there.
have people who have put out multiple songs, have been out for 2 years. All of a sudden, they're the new artist, and you're like, "Wait a minute, they've been out."
Hasn't Chris
Kevin,
Stapleton been out for like 15 years?
Yeah, something.
Ooh.
Whatever.
I'm real disappointed in Kevin.
You can be disappointed. It's fine. I didn't watch the Grammys.
It's not the first time.
And it won't be the last.
Probably not.
The end. You know what won't be disappointing? Andy Demetro when he joins us next. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. But, It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you were with us here on this Monday. NCAA tournament bracket is out, coming off of conference championship weekend, and Georgia Tech, the ACC champions in the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2010. And joining us, the voice of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, Andy Demetra, steps in here on 3 and Out. Andy, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me back, guys. Great to talk with you. Great we can talk with you as Georgia Tech ACC tournament champions, like you said.
Certainly. And again, speak to that run. Is that something you foresaw being a possibility? Now, I know due to COVID, they didn't have to play Virginia, who had to bow out due to COVID concerns. But was this a run you foresaw potentially happening with this team the way they were playing late in the season?
Well, when you go into the ACC tournament with a 6-game win streak, you're seeing a team that's peaking at the right time. I will say this, guys, it looked pretty bleak for the Jackets back on February 13th. You go 1 month ago to last Saturday, February 13th. This Georgia Tech team was sitting at 5-6 in the league, 10th place in the ACC. They had a long way to get even into bubble contention, but you knew they had the talent to do it. They just had to get to work, and that's what we've seen over the last month, and just really inspired play down the stretch where every game was a make or break. And to see it culminate with a second-half comeback like that versus Florida State, you can say that a couple of teams had to bow out because of COVID concerns, and attendance was limited at Greensboro Coliseum, so it wasn't maybe the full ACC tournament experience. But if you watch any of those Georgia Tech players on the floor, the outpouring of emotion and celebration that they had following the win on Saturday, you cannot look me in the eye and tell me that game and that championship didn't mean everything to these Yellow Jackets. Now they officially had their ticket punched, and we'll look to build on that this Friday.
You mentioned the emotion and the scene post game. Jose Alvarado, what a player for Georgia Tech and means so much to the program. What was the championship like for him as a veteran, a guy that's been around the program, and a guy that's been such a tone setter for Georgia Tech?
Well, Josh Pastner has used this phrase all 4 years the Jose has been on the flat, that winning to him is more important than breathing. And Jose relayed to us a story in our post-game interview with him on Saturday. After that Clemson game at Littlejohn, remember, he's the ACC's free throw percentage leader, missed 2 free throws with 8 seconds left. Georgia Tech still was in front by 1, and Clemson hits a banked-in 3 with a second left to stun the Yellow Jackets. Jose said when they arrived back in Atlanta, he was so disconsolate, so broken up, and torn apart by those 2 free throw misses that he couldn't bring himself to leave McCamish. He was there just stewing in his own thoughts till 5 in the morning. And he said, Josh Pastner never left my side that entire night until I left McCamish. That's how much he stung from that loss. To see him, pull himself out of that and lead this team, he is the bleeding heart, the lion heart of this Georgia Tech team. And 5 more steals against Florida State. They forced 25 on the Seminoles, which was a season high for Florida State. Jose is the tone setter. He's the emotional engine of this team. And whenever they need to dig deep, they know they can look to number 10 and get somebody who's going to go to the ends of the earth to try to pull Georgia Tech a win. And we saw that again this week.
Andy, obviously, when Coach Pastner got hired in 2016, he was telling Georgia Tech faithful, we're going to win the ACC within 5 years. Obviously, you got to have lofty expectations when you talk about a team like Georgia Tech, but he did it. Regardless of how he got there, are people going to talk about unforeseen circumstances? He did it, and he did it in a way to where it was a sloppy game against Florida State, but they won with defense and turnovers. Just talk about Coach Pastner staying the course, having guys like Alvarado, the whole time, and finally getting that that weight off his shoulders, holding up an ACC tournament championship trophy.
Yeah, and his mantra from the moment he arrived here was, we need to get old and stay old. He thought that if you can't recruit the one and dones like the Louisvilles can and the Dukes and the North Carolinas, the best way to establish yourself as a year-in, year-out competitive program in the ACC is to cultivate an experienced roster, the way Virginia does, the way that Notre Dame does. That vision took a while to fulfill. We started seeing the Jackets turn the corner on that last year when they won 8 of their last 11 in the ACC and finished with a winning record in conference for the first time since 2004. They returned 4 starters off of that team. They're the 4th most experienced team in college basketball, the most experienced team by average years of experience per player in major conference basketball. And when the chips were down and Georgia Tech was 5-6, they had the veterans who had the chemistry and the camaraderie and the poise to deliver game after game when they knew a loss would potentially send them through the trapdoor and out of the NCAA tournament picture altogether, barring a run to the conference championship. And they've done it by and large through defense. As good as Georgia Tech has played offensively this year, and this is the most efficient offense Josh Pastner has had in his 5 years at Georgia Tech, ultimately they identify themselves by defense first, mixing multiple defenses. Somebody like Alvarado setting the tone with his hand activity to really get after it on the defensive end. We saw that again on Saturday, and just really a testament to the mental toughness and the fortitude of these guys. It's one thing to be experienced, but it's another thing to be experienced and battle hard. And Georgia Tech had both. They needed both trades to get over the finish line and into the NCAA tournament, and boy, did they ever deliver.
Andy Demetra, voice of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, joining us here on 3 and Out. And obviously they end up with a tough draw here as a number 9 seed. They play Loyola Chicago, who I believe last time we actually had the NCAA tournament was one of the darlings of the NCAA tournament. Then if you were to get by that, you got the number 1 seed in the next round. How would you kind of rate the bracket that the Yellow Jackets are in here in this draw?
Well, I'll say this. Every team in Georgia Tech's quadrant won their conference tournament. I defy you to find me a quadrant in NCAA tournament history where that's happened. If it has, it's been rare. But you got 4 conference tournament champs in the Jackets, Loyola of Chicago, Drexel, and Illinois. This is not an 8-9 matchup. I think we can say that. Not just Georgia Tech is the 9, but Loyola is the 8. I mean, they're 10th in the net ranking. I don't think you will find an 8-9 matchup ever in the NCAA tournament where both teams have winning streaks of 6 games or longer going into the NCAA tournament. But, Loyola, like you said, they were the darlings here in 2018 in Atlanta when they made their Cinderella run through State Farm Arena and got to the Final Four. And one of the players on that team is the NBC Player of the Year this year in Cameron Krutwig. So he's had success in March, and I'm sure they'll follow his lead on Friday. It's going to be a tough matchup, probably the best 8-9 matchup, or maybe even the best first-round matchup you may find in this entire NCAA tournament because of how evenly matched these teams are.
Yeah, and look, Andy, of course, you're in the NCAA tournament. You're going to play somebody really good, and ultimately you're going to run into a high seed. But you look at Georgia Tech as hot as they've been the second half of the year. You look at a team that is the ACC champion, has 17 wins. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I struggle to see how Georgia Tech's a 9, but Clemson, for example, is a 7. I mean, do you think, even though you're in the NCAA tournament and you're an ACC champion, do you think there's some folks around the program kind of scratching their heads a little bit at the seeding?
I think the lowest seed an ACC tournament team has ever gotten from after winning the ACC tournament championship was a 4. Now, I'm not here to say that Georgia Tech deserved a 4 seed, but I think the die was mostly cast with respect to the range of Georgia Tech seeds before they even came to Greensboro. Again, after that Wake Forest game, they were, by general consensus, among the last 4 byes, right? So that would put them in, right around the end of a 10 seed, beginning of an 11 seed. Not having faced Virginia and getting that opportunity to notch another quadrant 1 win might have cost Georgia Tech an extra, seed or so. But like I said, there was a ceiling to how high Georgia Tech's seed for the NCAA tournament could have climbed based on their performance in Greensboro. So you take it for what it is, but at the same time, people will look around and say, well, this is no ordinary 9 seed either. So Georgia Tech knows they are much better than their seed, and if they can use that as additional fuel for when they begin their path in Indianapolis, all the better, right?
I was going to say, and when you think about this team that you mentioned, is defense first. And I mean, you win the ACC tournament, you get ranked number 9. There's got to be something with these guys, deciding these seeds. But either way, they in there. How dangerous can this Georgia Tech team be? Because as you mentioned, I mean, they still won the ACC tournament without playing, good basketball. They just got back to what they did, forcing turnovers, making it ugly, and willing out to win. How much you think that kind of momentum can help them in the tournament to where they obviously coming in not getting a lot of respect, not just from the people seeding them, but maybe they're the people they're going to be playing.
Well, I think if you look at the last month, Georgia Tech has been playing with a lot of motivation and a lot of hunger, and I don't think those hunger pains are going away. There's no satisfaction in simply making it to the NCAA tournament. They want to stay there a while. They know they have the players to do it. They're playing such great team basketball on both ends of the floor. And even though Loyola's going to be a stout matchup, I mean, they're number one in the nation in defensive efficiency. On a macro level, I'd liken Loyola to a mid-major Virginia in the way that they play such tough defense. They make it a chore to score. They play at a deliberate pace. They're efficient offensively, and they've got a great passing big man in Cameron Krutwig, similar to how Virginia has Jay Huff. But Georgia Tech, the way that it can win a game through its defense or it can win a game through its offense, and the way that they don't need one guy to show up every single night in order for them to be successful. We saw that in the ACC tournament where Moses Wright maybe didn't have his two best games of the year, but they got great contributions from Jordan Usher. They got timely baskets from Bubba Parham. Michael DeVoe was the tournament MVP. They have a lot of different combinations with which they can get the job done offensively. You need that adaptability if you want to be successful in March. And Georgia Tech, I think, has all the traits and all the tools to be very successful here and continue what they've begun at the end of the regular season and into the ACC tournament.
Andy Demetra, voice of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Obviously, 2020, 2021 has been different. Andy, you look at what's taking place, the whole tournament going to be there in Indianapolis. Are you going to get to go with the team? I mean, how do you expect the kind of the feel of this to be where you don't have regionals, you don't have host sites, it's all in one place basically, and maybe some limited attendance, and that's it?
I will say this for Georgia Tech without speaking directly to any of the players. None of these guys have experienced an NCAA tournament. Georgia Tech has not gone to an NCAA tournament since 2010. They're not going to be spoiled at having to bunker down and stay in Indianapolis for the duration of the tournament. They are a fired-up team, and like we said, fully motivated going to Indianapolis. And they've been on the road ever since a week ago Thursday when they ended the regular season at Wake Forest. They did not go back to Atlanta after that regular season finale. They're used to being kind of bunkered down and bubbled up as they were this past week in Greensboro. So they're already in Indianapolis. I'm sure they're used to having to quarantine and sort of stay and lead this monastic existence, as it were. As far as me personally, I'll say this, gentlemen. This is my 18th year broadcasting college basketball. It's my 15th year as the play-by-play voice of a team, 3 different teams. This is my first NCAA tournament, so you better believe I'm going to be in Indianapolis. I will be at Hinkle Fieldhouse with Randy Waters at 4 p.m. on Friday. I would not miss that for the world.
Andy Demetra, voice of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, our guest here on 3 and Out. Andy, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you guys. Go Jackets.
Appreciate it. Andy Demetra joining us here as he said, hey, first trip to the NCAA tournament. Those things are special for players, announcers, etc. You name it. But again, everybody in one kind of central location. They're not on the same gym, but kind of a central spot, going to be a little bit different for this year's NCAA tournament. And Georgia Tech, the 9 playing the 8. So very interesting matchup they have drawn there in the first round, BJ.
And I agree with Andy. That might be the first round kind of game of the entire tournament, but Georgia Tech should be a better seed than that. I think their resume warrants that. I think you always hear the tournament committee say you want to be playing good basketball at the end of the year. Nobody's hotter than Georgia Tech. You're a conference champion out of the ACC, and it's not just. And again, they have a great opportunity. You're in the NCAA tournament. I'm not trying to overshadow that, but it's not just that you have a brutal game in round 1. If you're an 8-9, that means you play a 1 seed if you win. So I think Georgia Tech will make the most out of their opportunity, but this team should be better seeded than that.
Yeah, they should, but at the same time, BJ, you know how it is. I mean, when you're not a usual suspect, they'll say, well, listen, we're giving them a seat. They should be happy to be in. No, they won the ACC regardless of the circumstance. Loyola is not going to be an easy task for anybody. But, I mean, I know we're going to get to it, but I don't even know how much faith I put in the Fighting Illini. I mean, I know they're ranked number 1 right now, but this Georgia Tech team plays scrappy. I mean, when you got the defensive player of the year and the ACC player of the year, not to mention, Michael DeVoe was the ACC tournament MVP, them boys know how to win. They know how to play scrappy. Plus, Coach Pastor, he was really, really cool, calm and collecting the post game. But Alvarado was like, look, man, enjoy yourself, man, all the nonsense they got to deal with.
Yeah, we've got more to come here. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you are with us. Plenty to get to in the final hour of the program. We'll look at the NCAA tournament. Brackets are out. Participate in our bracket challenge as well. You can go to ESPN bracket site. Look us up, ESPN Coastal Challenge, presented by Low Country Honda Dealers. Fill out your bracket with us. First place going to win 55-inch TV. Second prize for second place going to win a Budweiser grill. So excited about that as well. Some quick news before we step aside. Ware County quarterback Thomas Castellanos commits to Central Florida tonight. So a big get there for Central Florida. Thomas Castellanos out of Ware County, right there up one of the top quarterbacks in the country. We'll debate that in more final hour, 3 and Out. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you are with us here. Final hour of the show on this Monday. Reminder, we will have NCAA tournament games for you coming up here as we get to the tournament. We've got our bracket challenge going on. You can play along with us. Our bracket challenge presented by Low Country Honda Dealers. Go to ESPN.com, looks up ESPN Coastal Challenge, and you can jump in and play your bracket along with us. First place, a 55-inch flat screen. Second prize, a Budweiser grill as well. So looking forward to that challenge as we get the NCAA tournament back for the first time in over a year, as we did not have it last year. So good to have it back. Obviously, it's bracket time here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for a lot of folks to really hunker down and get it done. What is the secret, though, BJ and Ben, in your estimation, to filling out a successful bracket?
Well, I don't know that I'm qualified to give that information out, given that I think the last time we had the challenge, I finished down near the bottom, like in the whole pool of all people.
Well, tell us what not to do then, because it doesn't
right.
work.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the better way to approach it. To me, it's don't try to talk yourself into stuff, right? It's like you're looking at it and you're going, all right, the 3-14, and you're about to write the 3 down, and then you go, well, that 14 seed does only have 5 losses. And then you go, and then you make the mistake of going to ESPN and you say, man, they played Maryland within 3 points back in late November. And you start to kind of justify it. And that's how bad things happen. I think you need to just go with your gut. Don't they say that with the standardized testing is when you take the, whatever the school test is, whatever your kind of first gut reaction is, go with that. I start to get into trouble when I start to think things out. Right. Okay. Well, I saw this 15 seed on ESPNU once. They play a really good full court press. Nope. You're doing it. You're starting to talk yourself into it. Just go with your gut. Let it ride. Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. I think that's the key to trying to not have a good bracket, because nobody has a good bracket, but to not have a terrible bracket.
Yeah, the best way. Once again, I mean, I'm not the best to be going there trying to pick out no brackets, but the best way to do it, BJ, is if to say like somebody's asking you who will win. Because when it's yours, you doing all this. And see, BJ, you're really into college basketball. You'll start. Listen, I don't get into that. They had 5 losses going into the tournament. Who cares? Like that stuff doesn't mean anything because it's a 1-game tournament now. Like it's weird. So all that stuff. Hey man, we're gonna work on our 3-point shooting. No. Everybody's gonna be super duper nervous. And the higher the seed, the more nervous the team is to live up to the seeding. So to me, it's hey man. Somebody said Georgia Tech's playing Loyola. I'm going with Georgia Tech. Like you see what I'm saying? Like because this thing they'll say, "Where's Loyola of Chicago?" It's actually in their name. They tell you where they are. Or Alabama won the ACC tournament, right? Listen, they're a better team this year. I just think that. Like we said, BJ, who you are like in life doesn't help you when you're trying to pick a bracket. Cause you're doing that what you say you don't do. Like, yeah, man, but they big man is out. I don't care. That stuff doesn't matter. Cause you got to factor in Cinderellas. You got to factor in a team. Hey man, I ain't see him going that far. Kevin's like, I'm just gonna go chalk. Look, that's the easiest way, right? I'm just gonna
I don't go 100% chalk. It is the easiest way, but it's also a strategy to put you in the mix, right? I mean, the goal is to be at the Elite 8 Final Four with a chance, right? After that, it's all a crapshoot. The point is to not be done after the first round and just go, look, I had 9 upsets. They all lost and my bracket is trash. Look, here's the go-to kind of policy I deal with. And I haven't won, but I'm usually within the top, half of the bracket there with a chance heading into the Final Four where it's kind of at that point anybody's game going into it. First round, you got to survive the first real couple rounds. So you go mostly chalk. All right, you have 8 9s. Those are what would largely be considered the 50-50 toss-ups because they're the most evenly matched. Pick 2 8s, pick 2 9s, move on. A 12 always beats a 5. Now, you don't need to pick all of them. Pick one. 112 is going to beat a 5. Happens every year. Pick one, leave the rest alone. These are things that don't hurt you if it's not true 3 rounds down the bracket, right? You're not just hosed out. You do that, you can pretty much go chalk and outside of a 16 beating a 1, which largely doesn't happen. It keeps your bracket mostly intact. So I would say go chalk as much as you can. Pick 2 9s, pick a 12, and if you really are feeling it, maybe a 10. Outside of that, don't worry about it. Go chalk.
Yeah, but this is the thing. You see more buzzer beaters in the tournament than you see all year. Like just in the people. And see, that's what really kill it. They down by 2. Oh, he's gonna. It goes. I'm like this. Look,
but a lot of times everybody sees buzzer beaters and they're like, oh, it was the underdog. No, I mean, Maryland had a buzzer beater. Like, good teams also hit the buzzer beater. So it's survive and advance. That's all you're trying to do with your bracket.
I mean, look, I remember back when Warren Buffett said, I'm going to give somebody $1 billion and everybody lost. And I'm like, do you really think Warren Buffett think you're going to win the $1 billion? I'm telling you, man, I got this. Okay. All right. And then you fill it out. Nobody made it.
And this is why I think chalk works better in 2021 because, again, everybody's in the same place. Not as much of a regional feel. You can't put North Carolina in the Charlotte bracket and have 3/4 of the stadium cheering for North Carolina. Everybody's in the same basic spot. Fans are limited. The air gets sucked out of the room. I think you even more so lean into who's the better team and go with that. I think that's, to me, a winning strategy, or at least one that will get you there Elite 8 time where you still have a chance.
See, but I wonder if that's something that could open the door up to more upsets, because normally the way it's played out, your top 4 to 6 seeds are somewhere close to home. Notre Dame's playing in Chicago, or North Carolina's playing, well, not Notre Dame this year, but North Carolina's playing in, Greensboro or Georgia Tech in Atlanta or something like that. And now you really have none of that. So does that open the door for more upsets? I always hate it though, because I do consider myself a college basketball fan. I watch a lot of college basketball. I consume a lot of college basketball, and it's almost like less is more this time of year. My dad will be in our bracket challenge and he'll double me up in points. And my dad can't name one guy to have played college basketball the last 10 years. And he'll do better than me in the bracket challenge. So I think I'm going to try to not use my knowledge. Like, instead of thinking about the matchups and thinking about the players, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to look at it and go, okay, this team, I don't care. I'm not going to try to justify it, because I think justifying the pick makes it worse.
All right, but as we look at the bracket, a couple of things to consider as we get deeper in the bracket. Who's the first number 1 seed you think's popping out of there? That does make a big difference, right? You got to get that right to really help your cause out. If the wrong team, like the year Virginia lost in the very first round, I mean, that hosed a bunch of people all the way out there. Who's the first number 1 seed you see? Gonzaga, Michigan, Illinois, Baylor to potentially go by the wayside.
I mean, I'll say Illinois, and it's not that they're not a really good team, but they have the most losses of all the 1 seeds. Gonzaga's undefeated. Baylor has 2 losses. Michigan has 4 losses. Illinois has 6 losses. I know that's a very rudimentary way to look at it, but if you're trying to, on paper, I guess, do a reverse power ranking of who's the, I guess, least accomplished of those 4 teams, I think a resume that starts with a record is kind of a pretty good starting point. I think they're all good teams. They're all number 1 seeds. I mean, come on. But to see a 1 seed with 6 losses, you don't see that every year. I mean, more often than not, you're in kind of that Baylor or Michigan window with a couple of losses, maybe up through 4 or 5. So I don't feel good about it, but I'll say Illinois.
I mean, had a chance to catch a couple of Michigan games. Gonzaga is doing what Gonzaga does. Baylor, I'm just looking at their bracket and seeing more favorable. I'm gonna go with Illinois, BJ. Not just for the losses. It's just the fact that having that number 1 next to your name. I mean, that comes with a lot of pressure. And the thing about it, Illinois is, they're a good team, like you said, BJ. They're a good team because they're number 1. Yeah, or they could, but you got to see them some kind of way. And for me, I just think that their bracket. I'm looking at this bracket. Drexel. I mean, they ain't gonna just go away and they ain't just gonna go away quietly. And once again, I come back to what Kevin said. It's not, they're not going to put them because it's not, a normal year. You're not in a place to where you're, familiar as far as like a geographic location. Nobody has an advantage now. You're walking in an arena. The only people there is the coaches, players, training staff, and the security. It's who can go out there and execute. So yeah, I think Illinois gonna probably be the first one to lose, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Baylor. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised, but I think it's gonna be Illinois.
I mean, Baylor could again in the second round. You're talking about playing potentially North Carolina, who played some great basketball coming down the stretch. Could possibly knock them out in the second round. I think Baylor's one to look at too. I know they're a great team, but North Carolina with that history, tradition, playing hot basketball here down the stretch, could be an interesting one to watch there as well. Look right here in the state, Georgia Tech. We talked about them last hour with Andy Demetra. They're in for the first time in a number of years, since 2010. Can they go on a run? They're not favored in the first round against Loyola Chicago, a 2-point dog. Can they go on a run given the bracket they're in? As Andy Demetra said, everybody in their little 4-team quadrant there, Illinois, Drexel, Loyola Chicago, and themselves won their conference tournament.
I think that's a tough ask, and I really think it's a tough draw for the ACC champs. Not only are you playing a reigning Final Four team in the opening round, and obviously last year we didn't have the tournament, but you're playing a Loyola Chicago team that's 24-4. And then if you do get by Loyola Chicago, you're talking about Illinois, who's a 1 seed. That's the downside of being an 8-9. It's almost better to be a 10 seed than it is to be an 8 or a 9 seed, because you have to run into that first round matchup or that top seed matchup in the second round if you win in the first round. And then even looking at the rest of the bracket, I mean, you have Oklahoma State there at the bottom of the quadrant. Oklahoma State has Cade Cunningham. He's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. So if you're looking at Georgia Tech and saying, hey, could you make a run to the Elite Eight? That's probably going to require you, or definitely going to require you, beating a Final Four team from recent memory. Almost certainly going to require you beating a number 1 overall seed, and then would probably require you to beat the number 1 pick in the upcoming NBA draft. I mean, that's a lot. It's March. Anything can happen, but on paper, that's a really tough draw for the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, but if anybody's prepared for it, it's going to be Georgia Tech. When you look at the win streak they had at the end of the year, when you look at them being defense-oriented, BJ, and they've learned how to win ugly. See, I don't judge the team off. If they go out there and do what they do and execute, can you not execute and still make it an ugly game and win? I mean, if you can beat Florida State, and with their length, you're going to be prepared to beat a team like Loyola. And BJ, and that's the thing that gives the trouble, too. Loyola was a Final Four team a year ago or whatever. Boom. But different year, different circumstance. We'll see if Georgia Tech is built for the moment, because they are defense first. And I think anytime you got a team that wants to go out there and defend, it's going to make life tough, because, you talk about something in basketball you're getting away from. Boxing out, rebounding, doing the basics. That's what Georgia Tech is doing better than anybody I'm seeing in this tournament right now.
I do find it another interesting factoid here with the tournament when you're picking these games is how you kind of evaluate teams and what they've done over the course of the season. Usually it's pretty close. But, I mean, let's just take this for an example. Florida State, a team with a lot of talent. They can play really good basketball. Leonard Hamilton is an excellent coach, just played in the ACC championship game. Florida State has played 22 games. Gonzaga has won 26. Florida State only played 22 games. Gonzaga won 26. Iona in that same bracket played 17 games. Half of that bracket won more than 17 games. They only played 17 games. How do you kind of evaluate some of those teams where it's a stark contrast in number of games they even got to play? It's not 1 or 2 in some cases. It's 8, 9, 10. That's a lot of basketball experience. That's a third of a season in some cases from what's normal, BJ, worth of experience that some teams in the tournament simply didn't get here in 2020, 2021.
Yeah, it's tough. And you mentioned Florida State, who had a number of games canceled due to COVID. Florida State played 22 games this year, and that's with their run or their extra couple of games, I should say, in the ACC tournament. UNC Greensboro, who Florida State plays in the first round, they've played 29 games. So they've played 7 more games than Florida State has. I mean, you even go back to the Georgia Tech matchup with Loyola. I went and looked. Loyola's tied for the most wins of anybody in the tournament, tied with Alabama. Alabama's playing Iona. Alabama has twice as many wins as Iona. Alabama's got 24 wins. Iona has 12. So you have just schedule differences up and down all throughout the bracket. And it is kind of hard to look at records as we traditionally do because of that.
Yes, and I mean, yeah, circumstances, BJ, are going to be different, but I mean, the trek to get to this point, I mean, was well deserved by everybody in the tournament. And once again, you did enough to get to the tournament to be able to play teams that in a sense to where we'll see how they match up. But oh man, 29 games for one team, 17 games for another team. I think you got to push that stuff to the side because now you got to look at the road ahead. But we'll see, because if a team that played 29 games, if they do lose to a team that had far less games, fatigue could play a factor. But we'll see. I mean, those that's why you play the tournament. That's why I'm trying to see who's going to be the Cinderella of the tournament this year.
Yeah. Looking for, I think you can get some unique situations playing themselves out here in this tournament that maybe you wouldn't see in an otherwise normal NCAA tournament year. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. Again, want you to play along with us with your bracket in our ESPN Coastal Bracket Challenge presented by Low Country Honda Dealers. You can go to ESPN.com, look up our ESPN Coastal Challenge bracket, put your bracket in, play along with us. Winner will get a 55-inch flat screen TV. Second place will get a Budweiser grill. So looking forward to giving away those 2 prizes. Get your brackets in, presented by Low Country Honda Dealers as well. We'll put some links up on our social media to help get you there as well. But want you to be a part of our ESPN Coastal Challenge there, presented by Low Country Honda Dealers. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We're streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. Welcome back, 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, B.A. Bennett, Ben Troop. Thanks for being with us. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio, at Pigskin Radio. We are streaming live at ESPNCoastal.com. Again, a lot of NCAA basketball talk to get to. We will continue to look at the bracket. I hope you'll fill out your bracket with us. Presented by Low Country Honda Dealers, ESPN.com is where you can go. ESPN Coastal Challenge, our bracket. You can jump in there, fill out your bracket, play along with us. Winner's going to get a 55-inch flat screen. Second place, a nice Budweiser grill as well. So a couple of great prizes for us to give away at the end of March Madness. NFL, though, still in the news. Of course, Drew Brees retiring. He goes out as the NFL's all-time leader in pass yards and completions, 7-time NFL passing champion, 5 times over 5,000 yards. The only player in NFL history to do that. Falcons nemesis, Super Bowl champ. As I said, 19-10 against the Falcons. Unbelievable legacy for Drew Brees, and obviously the quarterback of the only Super Bowl championship in Saints history.
And Ben, I think about a guy that continued to create opportunities for shorter quarterbacks. For the longest time, it was, hey man, you got to be at least 6'3" to play quarterback back there, and they were all you can't see over the line and you can't see the passing lane. Well, the most productive passer in the history of the game is what, maybe 5'10", maybe. It's probably more in the 5'9" range in Drew Brees. And, it's not just Drew, of course, Russell Wilson, and there are a number of guys who have helped open doors for shorter quarterbacks. But I think Drew has been one of the guys that has helped pundits, analysts kind of look at the quarterback a little differently and say, hey, maybe you don't have to be this prototype. If you can play, you can play. If you can make throws, you can make throws. If you can elevate your team, if you can help win games, hey, that's all that matters. Doesn't matter if you're 6'3" or 5'10". So yeah, the numbers speak for themselves. The legacy speaks for itself. The ring speaks for itself. And I think you're talking about clearly, obviously, a first ballot Hall of Famer and a guy that is one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, Drew Brees is going to be one of those guys, BJ. You talk about having that respect, not just from your teammates, from guys you played against. You talk about having that respect throughout the league. Drew Brees shows why the head coach quarterback relationship is very, very important with him and Sean Payton. He was kind of like the quarterback on the field. And the thing about Drew Brees is he embraced the city. Most of the time when you talk about these, when we in college, we're young men. When, in NFL, you're a grown man. He grew up in New Orleans. He spent 4 years in San Diego. He'd been in New Orleans for 15 years. They adopted him as if he grew, was born and raised there. So the type of things he did away from football, had some hiccups along the way, but was able to learn from those as well. But when you look at a guy like Drew Brees, he took quarterbacking to another level. Drew Brees on the field, unless it was a Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, or, Matty Ice, players of that caliber, you felt as though he was going to go out there and, slice and dice you up. He will be missed, not in the NFC South by no means, definitely not in the other Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta, but Drew Brees just took quarterbacking to another level and shows that while you can measure a man's height, you can't measure his game.
Certainly, and one of the all-time greats to do it. Some other news and notes: Shaq Barrett stays with the Patriots. Thinking Tom Brady again with the Bucks. 4 years, $72 million, and obviously Tom Brady doing a little restructuring last week. So stuff like this, Ben, could happen. Makes the Bucks obviously more difficult to beat if you're a Falcons fan.
Tom Brady took less money. So what? So they said you couldn't keep the band together. Godwin coming back. Barrett coming back. Howard, he was injured. Last year he'll be back. They probably gonna re-sign Sue to a salary cap friendly deal. They're gonna probably re-sign Gronk. So for those of you who was thinking, man, to re-sign Levante David, I'm just saying they bringing back everybody they had. Like, how do you show love to a Super Bowl winner? Give him more money and try to keep the band together. That's before they even get to the draft. So Tom Brady taking less money definitely works for a guy who's always won because he made sure those around him got their money. So if you thought that Tom Brady and those Bucks was good last year, just add O.J. Howard, Levante David, Sue again, and that's before they even really get into free agency and the draft.
Yeah, you're talking about an organization that looks like they're going for it, not only last year, but the years to come. And if you're a Falcons fan, this is probably not good news. The fact that Shaq Barrett is coming back to to the division. One of the best pass rushers, if not in some respects, the best pure edge pass rusher in the NFL right now. You got to find a way to block this guy. Got to find a way to keep him off your quarterback. But if you're right, like traditionally, there's just a natural sort of personnel regression after a Super Bowl because everybody kind of exhales and you go, okay, we've won it. How can we save some money now? How can we kind of retinker things for the long haul? Nope. The Bucs are saying we want it. We want another one. We want 2 more. We want 3 more. And the Bucs are putting their money where their mouth is, and they're bringing these guys back.
Now something that ain't been talked about either. I mean, now Kevin mentioned the Patriots. Patriots re-signed Cam. They just gave Jonnu Smith some money. They gave Judon, the big-time pass rusher from the Ravens, just gave him some money. Jalen Mills from Philly. They just brought him in. And I know we forgot about this. There's a guy by the name of Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung. They opted out last year. They'll be back. So the Patriots going to get back to doing what they do. And for everybody that doubted Cam with no offseason and no weapons, Julian Edelman, Cam, Jonnu Smith, a running game, and that defense. Listen, I'm telling y'all, Josh Allen and those guys, y'all better get ready to Patriots. They're gonna be trying to make a run too. But them Bucs, them boys finding a way. They are overcoming the odds of saying what can't be done. They doing it against something. Only team to ever hold the Super Bowl and they home, where they are, in Tampa win that thing. And BJ, you talking about running the back. Tom Brady, man, he got that sauce, man. That boy, wherever he go, they win. Sorry, Bill Belichick. Was it Bill Belichick or Tom? I'm gonna go with Tom.
Well, we shall see. Meanwhile, the Falcons obviously working on restructuring some deals to get themselves in a better cap position. BJ, your Jags restructuring Andrew Norwell to a one-year deal. So, hey, Jags making moves.
We'll see. Jacksonville's got a lot of money. I texted Ben earlier today and said they need to go out and get some of these guys now. I mean, you got all this money, all this speculation. Let's go out and get some players.
Whoa. Now the real Jags fan coming up. BJ finna drive into Jacksonville, stand out front of the stadium and go, "What's up, dog? We got $80 million. What we doing with our money?"
I mean, I'm just saying. And look, Norwell, if we're being honest, has probably been a little bit of a disappointment in Jacksonville. You were first team All-Pro in Carolina and hadn't been consistent in Jacksonville. So maybe the Jags trying to restructure it so that, look, you got to come out and earn a little bit more of this money potentially, but the spotlight's going to be on the O-line. Wouldn't surprise me with 4 of the top 45 picks if the Jaguars don't get an O-lineman early. I think they probably will. But yeah, Ben, am I wrong in thinking Jacksonville should be in the market for one of these leading? I know you could look at it as we have $80 million. We're not going to spend all of it. We're going to build some depth. But shouldn't they at least be in the mix for 1 or 2 of these star headline free agents?
They should be in the mix for. I mean, anything they can grab at this point, BJ. Because the thing is this: everybody talking about Trevor Lawrence this, Trevor Lawrence that. Trevor Lawrence got to learn how to play in the league. Trevor Lawrence is going to be a rookie, and Trevor Lawrence is going to need some veterans around him. Defensive tackles. If Jaguars organization, you need D tackles. Where I need them from? College, pro, semi-pro, FCS, BCS. Grab them, because BJ, it was rough watching them D tackles. D-line play last year for the Jags. That is not going to be a selling point moving forward. That's not going to help you win no games.
Again, free agency happening wild and crazy. And I read some stuff that maybe the Patriots are going to try to get a wide receiver before the day is over and just keep spending more and more money. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. Of course, we are in the age of brackets. We'll get to our running back bracket. We've got it down halfway to the Elite 8. We'll do the right-hand side of our bracket, let you know how you guys voted on the fan poll as well. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out on this Monday, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We are streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com, live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. Glad you are with us. Love to get your comments on Twitter at Pigskin Radio in the middle of our greatest collegiate running back ever bracket that we've been working through. In hour one, we did the left-hand portion of our bracket to get us halfway to the final 8. Left standing are Herschel Walker, Walter Payton, Archie Griffin, and Adrian Peterson, Georgia Southern edition on the left-hand side of the bracket. A heck of a Elite Eight half there. We finished the other side here in this final hour of the program, fellas. So we've allowed each of us get a vote. The online, you guys can get a vote there on Twitter as well as we look at the right-hand side of the bracket. Barry Sanders against Adrian Peterson, not the Georgia Southern version, the Oklahoma version of Adrian Peterson. And the online voting, I'm kind of stunned it was this lopsided. Not necessarily that the fan voting got Barry Sanders in, but it was 95% to 5 for Barry Sanders over Adrian Peterson on the fan voting.
I mean, it's Barry Sanders. One of the all-time standards collegiately and in the professional ranks as well. When you think about what he does and the rate at which he did what he did and the rate at which he did it, well over 6 yards per carry, a guy that had 2,000 yards. With all due respect to Adrian Peterson out of Oklahoma, it's clearly Barry Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, this is why this bracket is supposed to come down to players of AP and Barry Sanders caliber, BJ. But I do agree when you go back to what Barry Sanders was able to do at Oklahoma State, man. I mean, you talk about numbers that's still hard to come by. I mean, 2,000 yards is a feat, baby. What he did was just took it to another level. Love Adrian Peterson from Oklahoma, even with him. I think he broke his shoulder that Oklahoma still was able to put up the numbers. But for me, yes, it's Barry Sanders.
I would, Barry Sanders as well in this one. Tough one. I mean, a tough matchup. Obviously, Adrian Peterson, Oklahoma, fantastic. Barry Sanders, though, to edge him out. Again, this is tough. Getting down to the final 8 here. It is elite v. elite. Every single matchup virtually here the rest of the way. Next bracket up, Darren McFadden, the 6th seed against 2 seed Earl Campbell. We go to the fan voting. Earl Campbell wins it on the fan voting side, 60 to 40 in terms of the percentages. What say you guys?
Wow, this is another really tough one, and maybe this is just because of the era I grew up in, but I'm going to go Darren McFadden. I think his versatility, multifaceted ability kind of set the tone for the new era of running backs, guys who not only could do it on special teams, but line up in their offense's version of the wild hog, maybe throw a couple of passes, maybe split out wide. Darren McFadden's so versatile, so efficient. The totality, along with Felix Jones and Peyton Hillis for a year of what his team did, Arkansas really running the football to a couple of SEC championship game appearances. With all due respect, I'm going to go Darren McFadden.
I love Earl Campbell, BJ, and everything. Did it all in Texas. Man, obviously did it for the Oilers as well. I mean, you look at a guy who just a power back. I mean, got established. What you're talking about, a guy like Earl Campbell. But I'm going to go with D-Mac for the same reason. When you look at a guy to where, I'm there. When I think about Texas and running backs, I can go Earl Campbell and I can go Ricky Williams. When I think about Arkansas, and the first thing, D-Mac, and what he had to be for that offense, what he had to be not just as a runner. I think he was a Heisman Trophy finalist, a runner-up 2 years in a row. He was Arkansas. Without him, they don't have the success they had. So for me, just from what he meant to just college football and showing that running back can do more than just, get the ball handed off to him and adding like with the wild hog or the wildcat. So yeah, for me, I'm gonna go with D-Mac.
Yeah, I think that's the differentiator here. And I would say back when we put this concept together, having Darren McFadden as a 6, probably a little low for him, simply because, again, you saw Arkansas come out with the Wild Hog / Wildcat. They were kind of the first team to incorporate that. We saw it explode across college football to where even now you'll see teams run packages of Wildcat here and there where it's the concept is simple. Get the ball in my best player's hands and let him go make a play. I mean, and that is basically what it was. And as you said, BJ, the innovation of we're going to use our running back also as a receiving option consistently out of the backfield. Oh, by the way, he can return kicks and be a playmaker for us. I think that kind of, in some ways, revolutionized what the newer era of running back could do, at least on the elite end, the Clyde Edwards-Helaire's and the guys who can run it and catch it out of the backfield and make things happen. I went with Darren McFadden in that one as well. The next one up, I think, was our closest in the fan voting. OJ against Tony Dorsett. According to the fan vote, Tony Dorsett wins it 52-48 over OJ Simpson in a very tight voting there. This is the greatest collegiate running back. So we talk about what they did at the pros, but this is just collegiately. Where do you go?
Really tough. I'm comparing the stats right now because I know they were super close. And you think about the production, not only just yardage wise, but touchdowns as well. I mean, I got it right here. Yeah, Tony Dorsett had 60 or 59 rushing touchdowns. Really close, but I think 4 1,000-yard seasons for Tony Dorsett, including the 2,100-yard season as a senior in 76. That's up there all time, one of the best seasons we've ever seen. Close, but I'm going to go Tony Dorsett. I'll give him a slight edge with 4 1,000-yard seasons.
I mean, the thing about it is this. I mean, you talking about Tony Dorsett, you talking about Juice now. Once again, when I think about USC running backs, man, you had some really, really good ones, man. O.J. Simpson was the one that kind of set the standard, set the stage. But then Tony Dorsett, BJ, and Kevin kind of go with that. Pittsburgh, they gonna give you some great players like at certain positions, like Larry Fitzgerald. Or you talk about, what I'm saying, you will talk about like Aaron Donald, what he's doing now, but we forget how good Tony Dorsett was. That's what it is. You ain't seen it. And then you start going through the stats like, hey, listen, a 2,000-yard season in college, that is hard to do. I don't care who does it. So listen, Juice, I'm sorry, man, but I got to go with Tony Dorsett as well, man. Put up some great numbers.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you're talking about both of these guys played in an era where the regular season was 10 games. So it's like you read those numbers that now you go, man, yeah, Tony Dorsett, 2,100 yards. That's really good. No, he did it in way less games to try to get those numbers. Very impressive. I think what you said about Tony Dorsett, Ben, I think people say the same thing. You can say the same thing about OJ. I actually went with OJ in this one because, unfortunately, what people now think about with OJ, he says a lot of wild stuff on social media. Of course, you had the whole, driving down the interstate with the trial, and you had, hey, he's the guy in the Naked Gun. He did the Hertz commercials where he's jumping over, park benches at the airport to go get his rental car. And you think about all that and you forget about all the other stuff at like bring up OJ's USC career is like thing number 10 that you might get to on the checklist. Hey, 2,000 yards with the Buffalo Bills is like all that before you get to. I went with OJ because I really think that's the part that gets thought about the least. In that, I'm willing to be the odd man out there on that one. And then finally, I mean, I can give you my pick, but I think you already know. Bo Jackson against Ron Dayne. I'm just going to not say anything for my pick because you all know. But I will say the fan vote kind of says it all in what we say about this one. Fan vote chose Bo Jackson. The fan vote was 100% to 0 over Ron Dayne or Bo Jackson. Not even close, nor should it be.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty convincing. And we know, Ben, where Kev's going to go with this one. Bo's his guy. Bo averaged almost 7 yards per carry his last year at Auburn and had, the highlight reel runs and was, like Herschel, just an incredible athlete in the offensive backfield. And Ron Dayne had a remarkable career. But, right, you're talking about comparing him to Bo Jackson. You can't do that. I mean, Bo's on the very, very short list for best ever, greatest ever, a guy that still you can't find anybody and kind of compare that player to Bo because what Bo did was so ridiculous and so unattainable. So the 100 to 0 voting tally, 100% to 0% does kind of surprise me a little bit, but I get it. You absolutely have to go Bo Jackson.
I'll say this, just perusing quickly for our vote today, it was the most voted on poll. So it wasn't like, hey, 2 people voted and nobody it was the most voted on one, and it was 100% to 0.
I mean, Ron Dayne wasn't no slouch. I mean, 7,125 yards, 71 touchdowns. But once again, who was he going up against? He going up against Bo. I mean, and BJ, I know we try not to talk about like what they did in the pros, but Bo is synonymous. Bo knows this and Bo knows that. I mean, and Bo is still relevant now. Like So, like the thing is, if somebody go, if I have to Google one guy, and obviously with Doris said O.J. Simpson, that's different. Ron Dane, I should have to Google him. Most people, Bo Jackson that played for Auburn, most people that don't even really know about him know about him. So yes, we talk about Bo is one of Bo, Frank Thomas, Charles Barkley, Cam. They go Auburn's greatest in every sport. Deal with it. So yes, Bo.
Yeah,
Yes.
Bo knows sets it off, and Bo knows he's better than Ron Dane. That's really all you got to say about that. We'll come back. We got more to come. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you are with us here on this Monday. Of course, want you to fill out your bracket with us. Our bracket challenge presented by Low Country Honda Dealers. Go to ESPN.com. Looks up ESPN Coastal Challenge. Put your bracket in. Winner will receive 55-inch flat screen television. Also giving away a Budweiser grill for place number 2 in our bracket challenge. So go fill out those brackets here. ESPN.com, ESPN Coastal Challenge presented by Low Country Honda Dealers. Look forward to you joining us in that challenge as well. Something we didn't get a lot of time to get to, BJ and Ben, in hour number 2, I believe, when we had a chance to bring it up. But Thomas Castellanos, Ware County quarterback, committing to Central Florida. So you've got 2 of the best quarterbacks in the country right here in coastal Georgia. Thomas Castellanos committing to Central Florida. Holden Gerner at BC committed to Auburn. So with 2 of the nation's top quarterbacks committed right here in Southeast Georgia.
Yeah, and great to still see the 912, prominently featured in the recruiting circles, whether it's, around signing day or here in the spring or in the summer, guys from all over Southeast Georgia getting opportunities. And Thomas is a fantastic player, great quarterback, can do that, could potentially do something else, has the athleticism to play other positions. But yeah, I would absolutely give him every chance, every opportunity at quarterback, given what he's done with the Gators there. And that's a big get for Gus Malzahn there in Orlando. When you think about getting one of the South's top players, getting one of the top players in the state of Georgia. So really nice addition for UCF, and congratulations to Thomas.
Gus Malzahn still getting from the 9-1 team, even though he's no longer in Auburn. He's down there in Orlando now, still finding a way to snatch him up. But that's how it is. That's how I go. Listen, if you don't know about Kevin and BJ, when it comes to the 9-1-2, they flex a little bit. Like, they got guys at the Citadel starting traditions like wearing number 0. Got guys like Shakir Robinson doing big things in the Marines, what he did at the Naval Academy. I'm learning that the 9-1-2 put him out. Just saying. Show the boy some love.
Yes, again, a great young man getting ready to go take on college football at Central Florida after he's still one more year of ruining people's Friday nights there at Ware County when he steps on the field. It is a tough out if you're going to beat the Gators with Thomas Castellanos there at the helm. Appreciate Andy Demetra joining us here on 3 and Out, the voice of Georgia Tech, as the Yellow Jackets in the tournament for the first time since 2010. They will play on Friday against Loyola of Chicago. Very tough draw for them, but we appreciate him joining us here on the show. If you missed any portion of the show, you can go to ESPNCoastal.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and you can find our YouTube channel, catch a podcasted version of the show each and every day. As always, you can hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio, and we will see you tomorrow, a Tuesday edition of the show. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Again, we stream live, ESPNCoastal.com.